Welcome everyone to the weekly crypto recap show where we go over all of the latest news in crypto from the week. Has everyone got their tea with them? Because this is kind of where we bring the hijinks and high tea room over into the YouTube sphere. And I have with me two high jinxers and high tears, Kieran Mesquite and Chris Carabats. Welcome to the show, guys.
Oh, hi, hi.
Hi, hello.
That was such a really enthusiastic hi, guys. That was really good. So my tea I've got here, it's an iced tea, because that's what you want a crypto show to start out with, an explanation of what tea is everyone drinking. So I've got a turmeric and a ginger. I'm pretty happy with that. Kieran, I hear you have two teas with you right now. Is that correct?
Right, so I have a peppermint, a simple chai,
Oh, simple. I like the way you qualified that with simple chai as opposed to complex.
Well, I mean, it's called simple chai because the tea brand is Simplicity.
Simplicity. I see that Llama's there. He's got his tea in the chat as well. Chris, you got any tea today, or should we just go straight into crypto?
I could barely get myself here, much less tea. I have my water bottle, so we're good to go.
Listen, I'm really proud of you that you got here. So for that, lots of points and thumbs up. I've got an ouch there. I fell off my electric scooter yesterday, and my foot is not in good condition. But I am adjusting well to Silicon Valley life, driving around on my electric scooter, because that's a thing that people do. Anyway, let's start off. We're talking about Binance to begin with. So pretty big news coming out of there today. So, I mean, we've been expecting this for a while, especially when they said that they're going to be formally expanding into the US. And so now they are actively banning people who are using Binance if they find out that they are in the US. I guess it's a way of dividing camps and making sure that the US branch is completely compliant and all of that. So what are your thoughts on this news that they are blocking US customers from trading?
Considering, go on.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to have to be something to do with regulations, right? And I guess pretty much every company out there has got to do something similar if they want to serve US customers. So I don't see this as a complete surprise. They could have possibly handled it a bit better because, you know, you go on Reddit and you see people kind of panicking and, having to open support tickets and all to withdraw their funds. But, the support tickets do get answered, so that's at least there. But yeah, I don't see this as a too big of a surprise.
No, it's not too big of a surprise. What about you, Chris?
Well, they had already stopped their DEX, at least their DEX client, from working for US customers. So it's not surprising that they're going this way with their main exchange as well. And as we've said several times in the past, the US regulatory institutions are cracking down on crypto, and it just makes sense that one of the biggest ones in the world would have to bow out and make something dedicated for the US world that would separate it from the rest of the world. And as it stands right now, it's crypto in the US and then crypto everywhere else.
It is. It kind of reminds me of how they divided up like insurance in the United States, because New York is just such a crazy regulatory enter expletive here. So basically you have companies that offer services to 49 states, and then they'll have a different, completely separate entity offering insurance to New York, because it's just, they can't combine it all because it's crazy. And I feel like that's sort of the direction the world's going in. You've got like, hey, we're a service for the world. We have this entirely separate company that just deals with the United States. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. Like they said that people can still use the platform. Like you won't be able to deposit funds, but you will be able to access your funds. You just won't be able to trade it or make any deposits. So yeah. Anything you guys wanted to add about this? I mean, it's all about the KYC stuff, right? America is mandating that everyone complies with their rules, and whenever the US says something, the rest of the world follows because they have to, apparently. Yeah. And so,
and it's not just America cracking down on this. It's just we seem to be worse than everybody else, and companies don't want to ignore the United States government where they'd be more willing to ignore some other governments.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, Australia's doing a similar thing. They're really cracking down on all of this stuff. But from what I tell, like, US has the strictest rules with all of the KYC, AML stuff. So, yeah, just some breaking news there. If you guys are using Binance, I hope that you are not in the US because that is not allowed now. So just make sure that you're dealing with your funds there at the moment. Let's move on. I want to talk about, I mean, we've mentioned this in the past about Facebook coin, global coin. So they've released more information and there's been like little press leaks here and there. But from what I'm hearing, like recently, they're looking for backers, right, for their global coin cryptocurrency, and apparently they have Uber, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard. They have all of these giant companies saying, yeah, we'll back the Facebook coin, which, I mean, it's a promising sign for the Facebook coin. I'm still probably not going to use it, but I mean, they've done pretty well attracting all this attention.
Well, I mean, to bring it back to like 2017, it kind of does remind me of some of the ICOs back then, which are sort of like, oh, we're going to be a bit secretive about what our tech actually does, but here's a list of partnerships, and I guess the only difference here is it's some much bigger names, but it does remind me of that somewhat.
Yes, I agree. It sounds like that. It sounds like they are subscribing to the Justin Sun variant of marketing, but maybe not. I mean, the reality of it is, I'm sure Visa, MasterCard have to be involved, because if they're not, this could really eat their lunch if Facebook really has this take off and bypassing the credit card companies. So
absolutely, and I mean that's a great point, Chris, and sorry to interrupt there, but it's like when you're talking about money and what's going to be used for day-to-day online transactions, I mean, we have seen to a certain degree that a lot of these things can coexist. We sort of think about, oh, money is going to be ultimately one form, so everyone's going to get on board because network effect, etc. But we haven't really seen that play out in the way that we use money right now, because we have, I mean, sometimes I'll pay people with Venmo, sometimes I'll pay people with PayPal, sometimes I'll pay them with Facebook Cash, sometimes I'll pay them in Bitcoin, and all of these methods are coinciding, and that's essentially what they're putting out. It's like, from what I could tell, it's a stable coin that's going to be operating through the Facebook network so that people can just kind of send a dollar proxy to people. And so, I mean, that's going to be basically the same as, using PayPal and all these. And of course, all these places are competing for market share, but people, like, it's not like everyone's just on the one thing, like a social network. People do use multiple of these payment platforms. So it is interesting that Visa and MasterCard have kind of looked to this and thought, oh, well, we better get on board because otherwise Facebook will eat our lunch. Because they could probably put out something similar that would compete and do fine, but instead they're kind of backing someone else's. So that is interesting to see everyone piling on.
Well, Visa does have a lot of positions open. They've been hiring for blockchain related people. They've been investigating this for a while. They just haven't really unveiled anything yet. And we don't have any idea what Facebook global coin is. Like, what exactly is it going to do? We don't know. We do know that Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, a few others are going to be part of the governing consortium for global coin, which they have invested a paltry $10 million each to do. But we don't know really what that means. And as normal, we won't have any details until the 18th of June, when they're releasing their white paper and unveiling we hope, all the details. How this really differs from any other thing, like, is this really even a cryptocurrency? I don't know yet. It's just something they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we use the same thing, like, when you have credits in systems, like if you use Video Hive or Audio Jungle or any of these type of things, or like certain website builders where you buy templates, you can buy credits for them, and sometimes you can get discounts for doing that. It's basically you giving them money in advance, and then they benefit from that because they get the money up front and they can use that for whatever ends they want in the meantime. So we kind of do have a system like that. Like, it seems that Facebook wants us to use their coin and maybe we'll get discounts for Facebook merchandise in the stores or something like that. We don't quite know, but that it makes sense that they would do something like that. It's not, I mean, we keep talking about this like a cryptocurrency. I don't think it should be thought of as a cryptocurrency, and I think we really need to start differentiating between legitimate cryptocurrencies and these private coins, because this isn't real. This is just kind of a digitized version of what they're already doing, which is also a digitized version, but they're just transferring to a different kind of digital version. This isn't anything new that they're exploring right here, really. I mean, it is in some sense, but it's like, I don't know, I just think we need to start changing our language when we talk about these things.
I mean, even within the cryptocurrency world, there's a lot of, there's the different varieties of cryptocurrencies that we talk about, the utility tokens, the security tokens, the true, currency tokens, whatever. And as this matures, I feel that we are going to create a new language to spell out what these things are. Unless, of course, the Bitcoin maximalists are right and it'll be the only thing in the world in the future, but we'll bypass that for now. And, we'll have all these different words for different things, in which case the Facebook global corporate whatever coin will have its own labeling in this, probably right alongside of Ripple.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the direction we're moving in. All of these players are going to come into the space. They are going to be using some form of kind of blockchain tech to do things. It seems a lot of people exploring this. So we're just going to end up with a whole bunch of competing systems, the same way that we do now, but they're just using a different underlying tech. And in terms of a currency that gives us the freedom to move across borders, to have financial autonomy, to have financial privacy, there are still like relatively few coins out there that you can use for that sort of thing. So it'll be good when we start to differentiate between those types of things in language, because I see this world where everyone's talking about like, oh yeah, I finally got on board with cryptocurrency, but like all they're using is Facebook coin, and then we kind of miss the opportunity to educate them about why crypto is important and sort of a paradigm shift, because it gives us back our financial autonomy, because it gives us back privacy and control. So yeah, I hope they don't just hijack the narrative there and we lose this education point.
Well, they'll try. I mean, we already kind of have this issue now when we're talking about cryptocurrency, but what half the people mean are some ERC20 tokens that are not a cryptocurrency. They're just a token on top of a blockchain. And that's completely different from an actual cryptocurrency. So there's already language ambiguity that we're just going to have to work through as we grow. And I can be eternally hopeful in that this will open up people's eyes that, yeah, this is a valid thing, and not just, well, I have global coin now, I'm invested in cryptocurrency, that's all I need.
Oh no. Anything more to add, Kira, before we move on?
Well, I mean, I guess it is just a matter of developing language. I do remember flying through Amsterdam last year? Yeah, it was last year. And seeing a Deloitte ad where they said, blockchain is, and they just listed off a bunch of things, and it was like, blockchain is full data encryption, and blockchain is XYZ. I don't think they actually listed something which blockchain actually was. So, yeah, it's just a matter of properly developing terminology for these sort of things and properly defining them.
Indeed. Huge shout out to Boston. Boston, the entire location. Boston, the person in the chat right now who just sent me some super chats. I really appreciate that. That is very much appreciated. And just for anyone who was asking last time, they were wondering if things were going through on Bitbacker. So the transfer has happened. It is the float team taking care of things now. Bitcoin Cash transactions have been halted there because Bitcoin Cash updated the system. Bitbacker hasn't yet updated that. Their dev hasn't updated that yet. So Bitcoin Cash transactions will not go through, but all others should do. So just a heads up there. Let's move on and talk about Samourai. So we talked about Samourai last week, actually, and all the things that they're doing for privacy in the space. And so now they're dealing with, because a lot of people are talking about, how private will Lightning Network be once you have nodes, like they're kind of centralized, and they can sort of decide what they notarize the blockchain, and they have, it's kind of this area that is a little bit ambiguous as to what's going to happen there. But Samourai come out and said that they are going to be launching Noddle. I love the way that we're in the space we just mixed letters. I find it really amusing. I love the internet. But they're going to be launching something that has mixing features when you use Lightning Node to try to add privacy there. Now, Chris, I know that you have issues with coin mixing and how it's not really that private. Do you want to get your rage spiel out of the way before we move on to Kieran?
Well, it's simply not privacy. It might hide what you're doing from your neighbor next door, but the analytics out there are plenty smart enough to track what goes in and goes out of a mixing transaction or multiple mixing transactions and identify it quite effectively. You can already do this in Dash and all the existing coin joins. Not to mention then that these coins then are always tainted as having gone through these mixing networks and thus can be blacklisted in the future. How this will interface with the Lightning Network, I've not managed to find many actual details on what they're doing here, and how this will actually work. As it stands right now, mixing on the Bitcoin network is pricey because it involves multiple transactions, which are expensive and or slow, as we know. So yay for adding some privacy. I just hope people won't get fooled into thinking that Bitcoin has privacy because of something like this.
Right. But I mean, before I asked Karen to chime in here, I do like that we're heading in that direction, though. People are seeing that there's a need for more privacy. They are doing something to try to help this and obfuscate transactions, add more privacy features. So I really appreciate that, and any effort that's made in the space to do that, I think we should applaud. But I think you're right, Chris, that we need to take it with a grain of salt and not just pretend that everything's fine. And that a lot more needs to be done. But we're definitely moving in the right direction. Kieran, anything to add about this and what they're planning to do?
So I mean, I'd consider myself a fairly good benchmark as an experienced user, and I've tried setting up Lightning nodes and Lightning wallets in the past, and non-custodial ones, and they are a pain. So having something which can actually ease that process is definitely very much needed if Lightning is ever going to actually be usable. On the privacy thing, there is things like coinjoin and onion writing within the Lightning Network and so on, which, while they're not exactly perfectly private, I think it is important to start working on these things, just simply because, if you can hide at least some of the data that you're giving out, or at least make it more difficult in order to obtain that data, your own personal data, then that's still a useful thing. And hopefully we can see these things start to progress a bit more and get more sophisticated later on.
Indeed. I'm a bit confused how it's all working as well, but I am still hopeful about these things. Like, I hope it becomes easier for users to set these things up. We're at early stages still. There are a lot of kinks to work out, but I'm hopeful because I do want to see something like this succeed. We're just not there yet. And I'm hopeful about privacy. Like, this is not sufficient privacy at the moment, but I'm hopeful, and we're definitely moving in the right direction, and got some really smart people in the community working on this stuff. So fingers crossed we get there. They're doing a wonderful service for all of us. I do want to give a shout out to Ubers, or Chicago, the entirety of Chicago, for the super chat as well. Thank you, Ubers. If there are any other places that would like to put in a bid, just let me know. Where's Perth? Perth is never there. No one knows where Perth is. All right, and huge thank you to Archer's Bullseye. He sent me a power chat on Bitbacker in Smart Cash. Thank you so much. And says, even if Facebook, Global Coin, whatever, is a private coin, it could still be useful for an on or off ramp to real crypto. Hopefully there's a standalone wallet that just doesn't spy on you. There's no wallet that doesn't spy on you, but people are working on it. Samourai is doing awesome things there to try to create that. There are some really great services out there that you can use. And I agree. I mean, these stable coins, they are easy to transfer like between cryptos. So if they do come out with something like that and you can move it straight into Bitcoin, but it's an easy on-ramp for people, cool. That's interesting. I mean, I'm not against that. What are your thoughts on that as like an on-off ramp?
I wouldn't expect that to be available initially, but at the same time, I would see that Facebook would consider adding it if there was enough demand for it. You just have to be really careful to see exactly how it worked if they ever were to do that.
Right. So yeah, I was about to say hat tweet. I know head tip. Hat tip. I got a little confused there. To Samourai for moving this direction. Let's move on. I've got a lot of things to talk about. And huge thank you to Boston again, the entirety of Boston, who just sent me another super chat. They're fighting it out with Chicago right now. So Uvers, you got to pick up your game there. He says Boston has a lower crime rate. So there you go.
South Africa has a lower crime rate than Chicago. That's not hard.
Yeah, but South Africa never sent me a super chat, so they're not in the running. Let's talk about a little bit more about privacy and the largest CoinJoin transaction ever. So another privacy-centric community project, Wasabi wallet. They're people who are also trying to bring a lot of privacy into the crypto space. So they like CoinJoin is kind of this hard thing, and maybe Kieran and Chris, you'd be able to explain this much better than I can, but it's a hard thing to coordinate because you've got to get people together doing these transactions. But apparently they brought together 100 people to do a CoinJoin. They say that it could possibly have been the largest CoinJoin to have ever occurred. Does one of you want to give a quick breakdown of what a CoinJoin is?
So effectively from the outside, what you're doing is it's a sort of transaction where you take a bunch of inputs that you possibly don't want to link to your real wallet or whatever your reasons are from many different people, and you put it into a sort of black box, right? You shuffle things up, so you don't know which coins ended up being what, and the outputs you end up effectively sending them out to whoever the recipients are, and because you've got this shuffle in the middle, you end up with this property where you can't link a particular output to a particular input. The downside of that is you do know that the output had to have originated from one of the inputs. So you do need a fairly large number of people in order to actually create good privacy on this.
Do you think that 100 people is large enough, Kieran? Do you think that this is going to be helpful?
So 100 people, if I randomly guessed an output, I randomly guessed, I'd have a 1% chance of getting it right. That's not nothing, and that's still within the realm of, with some other heuristics or other data elsewhere, you could probably bring that up to a fairly good probability of guessing right. So 100 that number does need to go up a lot in order for CoinJoin to be useful, but it is good to see we're much further along than 5-10 people coin joining.
Yeah, and I think that, it's great that Wasabi is doing this. Again, a hat tweet or whatever I called it before to them. But I think that, if we're talking about all the wallets that exist out there, if all of them start doing this, then that could really start to make an impact. So I do appreciate their efforts there. Chris, you have anything to add about this?
It's good that more and more people are caring about this. They also, added on the additional anonymity of going through the Tor network, and they had a lot of issues there. This isn't something that just happened by chance and 100 people were doing it. This is something they really worked hard to make happen. So, as talked about before, this needs to get easier before more and more people can participate in CoinJoins together. So hopefully they will continue to advance and make this better and easier. And hopefully we'll continue to see more and more privacy features at every level coming into the crypto space.
Absolutely. So Uvers, the fight between Chicago and Boston continues on the chat. I would bring up the chat, but I'm so terrified of the an echo developing. Every time I click anything on this computer, an echo develops. So I'm just leaving it. I really want to get through an entire live stream without an echo going and me having to start it again. So I'll just have to read things out for you guys so you know what's happening in the chat. So Uvers has fought back with another super chat and says that Chicago has a lesbian mayor. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna top that, Boston. So that's cool. I'm not sure why it's relevant to crypto, but thank you, Uvers, for sharing that. That's great. Let's move on. I want to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about Iran, because we've mentioned this a few months ago. We were talking about the mass exodus from China of miners, and how before so many people were in China mining, but electricity costs and bear market and all of these things came together to make it not so profitable for a lot of these outfits that ended up shutting down huge numbers of miners. I've got some tea sounds in the background there. Who's preparing nice tea? But a lot of those people actually moved to Iran for a number of reasons, the main one being that Iran has huge energy subsidies. So electricity is being subsidized there. Now, the Iranian Energy Minister has spoken out and said that they shouldn't be subsidizing Bitcoin mining or cryptocurrency mining. And part of me is like, I mean, I've got a lot of feelings about this. So if the government wants to subsidize electricity, it means that they're price fixing it. And so there's no market mechanism for determining how valuable that thing is. So people will overuse it, use it for whatever. And people have moved there. It's brought a lot of miners there. And so now the energy minister is saying like, oh no, people are using this exactly the way you'd expect people to use this when you price fix something. So I'm kind of glad that he's speaking out, but I hope that he applies this to subsidies in general. This is economic logic that I think people need to keep in mind whenever they put price fixes on anything. So at the same time, I don't want to see miners get shut down, but I don't really like government subsidizing certain things. So what are your thoughts on what's going on here, guys? Chris, you want to start?
Venezuela did the same thing when they had miners there with their subsidized electricity and power and gas and whatnot. I mean, it's just...
And then they went after people and put them in jail for mining. Because they're like, oh, you shouldn't be using the electricity we really subsidized to make it basically free. And people are like, oh, okay. And then they threw them in jail. So that was pretty shit. Sorry, Chris, continue.
I haven't seen that happen in Iran yet, but in Iran, I mean, maybe they'll start stoning people for mining Bitcoin there. That would be exciting. But we just don't know what's going to happen there. But again, just like you said, I mean, crap, we've incentivized this with cheap and subsidized it, and now people are taking advantage. What are we going to do? But yeah, I don't think any of it should be subsidized. I do think it gives them it encourages more centralization of the network as things are subsidized in different areas like that. But I mean, it's just inevitable and it's going to happen, and people are going to do it behind closed doors and they're going to sneak into it. And yeah, it's just what's going to happen. I mean, that's why they were kicking them out of China hydroelectric plants, because they didn't want the cheap electricity going straight to the miners there. It's the same thing. They don't want to subsidize the Bitcoin network. And is it really surprising that governments don't want to subsidize the Bitcoin network? No, not really. It's kind of what we expect to see.
Right.
So it's all part of it. And,
sorry. What were you saying?
Oh no, and a Bitcoin mining farm will use up a lot of their subsidized electricity, and certainly they will feel that. They will feel that cost.
Right. So I want to make a point about what they've been saying about this, because it's just kind of it's just strange cognitive dissonance where they can see the unintended consequences happening in just one sector, but not applying that to every other one. You think logic would follow and they'd apply that. So they say that, where is it? So the minister, and I'm going to butcher this name, I'm sorry, Homayun Hayeri, someone can correct me if that was completely off base, was saying that energy used by cryptocurrency miners in Iran should be charged in real prices and not be subsidized by the government. So wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that with this little loophole in energy subsidizing, there's not a single other industry that is taking advantage of this electricity being fixed and taking advantage of these cheap prices? Like, of course, every industry is taking advantage of these cheap prices, but you just want to single out one of them and say, well, you guys have to pay the real cost because you're using electricity even though everyone else is. Like, I mean, it's just the strangest thing, right? It clearly seems that they're very, like, just against cryptocurrency, maybe, because it just makes no sense to me.
Most other industries don't convert electricity into money quite so directly. You're essentially turning electricity into wealth via Bitcoin with this, where other things you are producing other items and theoretically employing Iranians to do so, which they like.
Wait, but are you saying that they don't have the capacity to do like a 2-jump step in logic to figure that out? That they're converting things to money as well, but it just takes a few more steps to get there? Because I understand what you're saying about like employing people there, but I mean, when you're saying employing people, like that means that they're doing a job and earning money. So Iranians who are using their software and hardware and earning money, they're now second-class citizens or something because they're earning money as well. Like it's
I'm saying 2 steps is 1 step too many for a politician. Yes.
Well, obviously, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good point, Chris.
But it's just it's easy for them to beat on Bitcoin because the only real service that a Bitcoin mine is going to use in Iran is the electricity. The goods that it produces isn't going to be used there. It's not. I mean, it's not really going to be helping many of the other citizens there. Thus, it's very easy for them to try to crack down on it because if you try to crack down on a business, you might lose. Well, I guess I don't even know if they vote there. I'm horribly ignorant of Iran. Sorry. But you would lose the support of that citizenry of that industry. Whereas with the Bitcoin, it's people just moving in to take advantage of cheap electricity and do this. So it's very easy to take our jobs or whatever about the foreigners coming in to take their cheap electricity.
Like if anything comes of this, anything good comes of this, I hope that it's that policymakers get a better idea of what price fixing does, and this is obviously the natural outcome.
Sorry,
I like the way that you're just laughing at that as if like politicians learning a lesson. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I agree. Kieran, anything to add before we move on?
No, I think that more or less covers it. I just find it hilarious that every time you see these sort of government interventionist, you always kind of see the free market kind of come in and start to subvert it a little bit in weird and wonderful ways.
Yeah, no, it's nice, but the politicians never seem to learn the lesson at the end of it. So, oh well, the free market will persist. Free because it doesn't really exist in the world, but free-ish. So let's talk about the Philippines. Now, this is completely unexpected. The Central Bank of the Philippines warns people about the risks of growing cryptocurrency use. It's so unexpected that a central bank would be against crypto and speaking out about this. I'm being entirely facetious here in case anyone didn't figure that out. So they're talking about the same old scare tactics in this and talking about like how it can fund terrorism and all of this stuff. The same things we've been hearing for a decade, right? Where the mainstream media says, oh, well, it could be used for this. Not keep taking into account that the US dollar is like the largest laundromat in the world. Right? Everything is laundered through the US dollar because it's the easiest thing to launder through. Cryptocurrency is notoriously easy to track. We were just talking about that on the show. Yet this is always the thing that people hone in on. So why is it that Bitcoin's been around for 10 years and still like the tiniest of tiny fractions, of like nefarious activity is carried out in cryptocurrency? It's all carried out in the US dollar, in $100 bills. So again, it's just like another naive organization coming out against its thing, honestly, because I think they find it threatening, especially in the Philippines, where you have so many companies based there where people are earning international dollars. They're earning money from other countries that are outsourcing their work there. So, I mean, it makes sense that they wouldn't want people to be earning money in something that they can't control. That's just my 2 cents there. What are your thoughts? Chris, you want to start?
Oh, this ties in with about the U.S. regulation. I mean, the Philippines are trying to work very hard on their war on drugs right now. I mean, they've killed tens of thousands of people in the war on drugs in the last few years. There, the president's, I don't know, insane or something. He's been related to Trump quite often. And this is really in line with that, where like, well, you might use cryptocurrency for drugs and drugs bad, so you cryptocurrency bad. That basically sums it up. And yeah, it's out of their control. They talked about, there's no lender of last resort. There cannot be a total disregard for central banks or a third party that provides lender of last resort facility. I mean, it's they just don't want it. I do find it very interesting that this is happening within a few weeks of one of the California senators coming out against Bitcoin and being quite open and why he's against Bitcoin, and then the Iran thing and a few other things. It seems a lot is happening where governments are speaking out openly about the threat Bitcoin and cryptocurrency cause to their central banks and to government actors in this space. I find it interesting this is all happening very close together. I'm not sure if it relates to anything else. It could be related to the weakening markets and how the Fed may be raising rates next week or next month. I mean, there may be a lot of, again, trying to put cryptocurrency in the mind space of people. So maybe when the next crash happens, they can blame it on crypto. But I don't really know why it all seems to be happening at the same time right now.
I mean, when we're talking about lender of last resort, it's funny that they bring that up because that was basically why crypto was created, right? Because you have a bunch of financial institutions that do heavily reserved, fractional reserve banking, and they're just like crazy things happening in the financial system with money, being lent out to these organizations that lent out too much money and didn't have enough reserves to cover themselves. So you have this lender of last resort who steps in, which creates this moral hazard where banks realize, oh, we can get away with this stuff, this morally not quite right stuff, because we always have someone to lean on. We have a direct line of credit to the Federal Reserve. We'll always be safe. Is that kind of a moral hazard that we want to get rid of? We don't want to be encouraging bad behavior in institutions by saying, listen, you've got this safety net here, so if you screw up and you lend out way more money than you have in your reserves, we'll come along and we'll bail you out. It's just not what we want to see happening in society. And now a lot of people will call for, oh, well, we need more regulation then. We just need to make it illegal to do these things. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily the best solution there, is it? Like, laws are there and people break them all the time, and it generally hurts the good guys more than the bad guys. So why not create a tech where, you don't need this fractional reserve system, where you don't need these intermediaries taking custody of your money, where individuals can be your own bank. And now, so he's talking about like there cannot be a total disregard for a central bank or a third party that provides lender of last resort facility. It seems to me that that's the system that crypto sort of wants to get away from entirely and should disregard because of all of the trouble that it's caused in financial markets all over the world. What's your take on that?
So, I mean, this is, whoa.
Well, you got so dark there.
By
the way, everyone, Kieran's...
Now it's brooding, Kieran.
I know. He's got the mood lighting. So
Um,
Kieran's tuning in from Perth, Australia, where it's like 3:30 in the morning right now, 3:47 in the morning.
Yeah, so I mean, you look at these sort of statements, right? It's like, like the quote here is, for this reason, game theory dictates possible dysfunction when there is a market breakdown, when everyone may distrust each other. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? That is why cryptocurrency exists. And I just find it hilarious that sometimes these people that come out and they say, okay, this is why we shouldn't have cryptocurrency, end up being the best advertisements for cryptocurrency. We saw Senator Brad Sherman come out and say, oh, cryptocurrency threatens the control of the U.S. government through the U.S. dollar.
What's with these politicians all over the world speaking truth suddenly? Like, no, because of lender of last resort capabilities and America having global dominance. And it's like, shush, guys, you're not meant to say it out loud.
this is all happening at the same time when, I read an article in Market Watch, I guess about a week ago now, where it was an opinion piece on it's game over for the Fed as the central bank's credibility crumbles. Where, we have the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is seeking to extend the business cycle. Since when is that the Fed's job to extend the business cycle? This is all kinds of nonsense, as they've spent 10 years, claiming, oh, we're just around the corner from normalizing everything again. They've just been completely unable to. And nobody is trusting them anymore. I mean, sure, you have people in Wall Street who just assume they're going to get another bailout and are quite happy continuing to drink till the last drop at the party. But everybody else, we feel what's happening. We feel what's coming here. The numbers don't lie, and the numbers are all pretty bad. And you have a lot of problems right around the corner for central banks as we get ready to cut rates again, when rates never even approached normal levels since the last recession, since 2 recessions ago. And it's going to be quite interesting to watch this go through with the output that cryptocurrency gives people and with the trust that coins like Bitcoin can generate. Because you're not supposed to trust banks or third parties or whatever. I mean, that's the whole point of crypto, as we've been saying, is we're taking away their jobs. Sorry, we don't need you anymore. The network produces its own trust through the proof of work algorithm, and we don't need to trust third parties in order to send money to somebody else. So you're going to lose some control. And I know you hate that, because a lot of people have gotten very rich and powerful off of that control. And crypto takes that away and removes their reason for existing.
Indeed. It's it's a constant battle, right? And I think that governments are waking up to it, but there's still this constant cognitive dissonance that I don't quite understand going on there. But let's move on, because I have something. We're running out of time, and I have something kind of interesting. I want to share.
As opposed to everything else.
As opposed to everything else. Now, this one, I'm not quite sure how to broach this. And actually, as a prelude to this, I do have another power chat to read out here from Boston, in its entirety, who says, "I can relate. I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body." Again, I'm not quite sure how to take these tweets, messages here and what they have to do with crypto, but I'm very appreciative, Boston. So thank you for that message and sending that through. And I just added my DLive link. If anyone's on DLive, please go and just follow me there, because I can't get a normal account until I reach 200 followers, which I am nowhere near. I think I'm at 35. So thank you to 35 people that use DLive. But what I want to talk about now is the new... I don't know how to broach this topic. Former US Senator Rick Santorum supports new crypto for Catholics. Because that's immediately what comes to mind when I think about the Catholic Church. I'm like, they need their own cryptocurrency, because none of the cryptos that exist right now are good enough for the purposes they want to use it for, which is the exact same purposes that people use other cryptocurrencies. But they're going to create their own. And former US Senator, he says that he's in support of Cathio, a for-profit organization that will provide efficient, secure, and transparent movements of funds within the Catholic Church. So they need their own crypto for that, because Bitcoin's not good enough. Okay, never mind. So they say that the Cathio platform is designed to enable all sectors of the Catholic economy to benefit from lower costs and transparent systems. I just don't understand, guys. Why not just introduce them to any of the cryptos that do this exact same thing that already exists? But they want their own one. I understand a coin within a certain network. I don't know, maybe it'll be useful. Maybe there are networks that I'm not aware of that will benefit from this the same way that Facebook coin, the Facebook ecosystem, could benefit from their own coin or something. But it just, I don't know, it just seemed amusing to me. And the whole point of this is that, I was brought up a Catholic. I'm not really a Catholic anymore. I'm not quite sure what I am. Maybe a Shinto Buddhist, atheist. I'm not quite sure. But so I'm not against the Catholic Church or whatever, taking digs at them or whatever, but I kind of am also. So it's apparently a move to help connect them with younger believers, because they're crypto, young people like that will get a crypto for the Catholic Church and then they'll come flocking. I just don't see that happening. But what's your take, guys? Maybe you have an interesting perspective on this.
So, I mean, it does actually look like the blockchain, or the cryptocurrency part of it, the token part of it, isn't actually the main use case. If you go to their website, they look at sort of having a central place where you can, if you do want to make donations, streamlining the process of finding the right place to send money to, and then actually getting a report of where that money went, and hoping the receivers to generate the report. I'm guessing the cryptocurrency part in here is for hype reasons. I'm not actually too sure why they need their own coin, but okay.
This whole article was very much tongue-in-cheek. It was.
Well, yeah, you look. Sorry, I was going to put that out. So go ahead, Chris, because
it's just the whole thing. I mean, the way they talk about it, the nepotism and whatnot, whereas Rick Santorum's son is CEO and stuff like that, and then quoting the Bible at the end because there's no privacy to it. Well, you're going to be giving publicly, which the Bible tells you not to do. Which, whatever.
But can we read out this one quote? Chell and his team brought us the exciting and successful Kodak coin.
Yes. Yeah.
I just thought that line was so good. Honestly, who wrote this article? John Biggs. So this is a CoinDesk article that's reporting on this that is very funny.
He either really didn't want to write the article or really did.
I think he really did. It's amusing. I'm going to post a link to this article in the details so you guys can read it because it's very enjoyable. Good work there, John. I also enjoy the chat, and I'm sad that the chat isn't being displayed on the screen right now for everyone to see. So I'm just going to read out some quotes here. We've got Pope Coin. You can trade them in for salvation. You've got Shapeshifters giving us bread and wine. I appreciate that. Jesus Coin. Every time that you cuss, you burn a token. So definitely some great ideas out there. Maybe we'll just send a link to this chat to the team behind this coin so they can get some ideas. I think we're onto something.
And maybe Cathio will be the way the international Catholic community decides to start pricing things. I mean, you never know. It's probably not. But
I got some issues with the way the Pope has talked about economic things and very economically illiterate. It's just kind of really hurt me to hear some of the things that have come out there. But now they're embracing cryptocurrency. I'm a little bit torn because at the same time I'm kind of on the side of John here is talking about Kodak coin and how it just went to such great places, but part of me is also oh, that's cool. They're kind of getting on board, making it hip. I don't know.
You and Tom Woods both.
Tom Woods. Also, hi Tom Woods. You're the greatest. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about John McAfee because we're running out of time here. He has a new crypto trading platform called Magic. Is this Mt. Gox relaunched or something? So I always have reservations. I mean, McAfee, he's a fun guy. I've gotten the opportunity to hang out with him a bunch before, and he's fun. But at the same time, I kind of see him pumping these things that are just not great. And he makes these statements about things, these really over-the-top statements, and then can't back them up, but then just moves on to the next thing. So I'm treating this Magic site with a little bit of hesitation there. Anyone got anything to add there?
I don't know who would leave their money in his exchange.
Thank you for just saying it. I appreciate you just going out and saying it. You're less diplomatic than I am.
I mean, McAfee is the insane uncle that shows up drunk to every family gathering that is entertaining until he's embarrassing. But
he's never embarrassing. He's always entertaining. I'll give the man that. He is always entertaining.
Yes. But man, I don't know if he is the like so many other people. I don't know if he's the best face for the crypto movement. But then again, there are plenty of other people who have been tried to be the face of the crypto movement who also weren't the best. So whatever.
I like your face, Chris. You got a good face for crypto there. I'll support it. Like one of the things that that happened on this site, like apparently, the platform got attacked before it was even launched, and then he responded to that. But I mean, it was like a DDoS attack, and then there was this strange response that I didn't quite understand. Did you guys understand what he's saying there? Like, I don't know. Like, I'll read it out. McAfee still under attack. New IP address in Texas. The more this goes on, the closer we get. Amazon AWS servers are learning the attack and will be up shortly. Catch up on work. Make out with your partner. Or flash a random stranger in video while you wait. Like, it's a typical McAfee message, right? I should expect nothing less, but I still don't quite understand how that's a response to a platform that hasn't even launched yet and is already getting attacked.
I mean, how isn't it a response? It's
what
else would you expect McAfee to say?
Yeah, that's a really good point there. Sorry, I stand
probably
corrected.
Type this with one hand, holding an AR in the other, and starting some coke off a hooker's ass. And,
absolutely,
that's what he does.
Oh gosh, can you believe he's like 70? That man is he's still doing some crazy things.
He doesn't look a day over 85.
All right, guys, stop hitting on this. I mean, you weren't quite hitting on him. Stop hating on McAfee.
I'm just nagging you, man. I'm just nagging him.
Exactly. Kieran, anything to add before we move on?
No, I mean, this is pretty typical McAfee stuff. I guess McAfee is providing the most value in the space. The most valuable content in all of cryptocurrency. Besides this stream, of course.
Well, obviously.
Providing us with some good comedy. I don't think I can really comment on this. This is a bit.
It's probably for the best. Let's move on then. I want to talk about the Justin Sun and Warren Buffett lunch. I still really want to get invited. I really just want to go and sing crypto songs. I think it'd go down really well. It probably wouldn't. But still vying for that. So Justin, you're probably watching this stream, just letting you know. So he moved the location. This luncheon has been going on. It is a tradition that started in 2000. So it's been going on for 19 years, and it's always held at the same place in San Francisco. But Justin Sun's just gone ahead and changed the location, which is kind of a ballsy move there. Like, everyone hates on Justin, and I know that you guys have a few times already in this stream, but I'll have to say a few things about this. Justin Sun bids $4.6 million to sit down with top blockchain industry leaders and talk about cryptocurrency with a man who despises it, has been very vocally against it, but can't get out of the luncheon. He has to attend this luncheon and sit down and listen to these nerdy, geeky, techie people for 3 hours, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like, first of all, I find that delightfully amusing, and I would love to see what happens at something like that, because Warren just can't get out of it. Number two, like, every media outlet was talking about it. So crypto in general and Bitcoin in general got a huge amount of press from this, so that's kind of cool as well. Like, well done, Sun there. I was about to call him Sustin. That's not quite his name. But then the next thing is he does this power move where he's like, okay, I'm also moving this luncheon to Silicon Valley because, we don't expect that we'll be able to convince you that crypto is worthwhile, but let's get you in the heart of the tech scene and get you in our environment. We can show you a bit of our world. It's a ballsy move, and I kind of appreciate it. He's paid a lot of money for this lunch, so he can kind of dictate a lot of the terms. And I kind of liked that. What are your thoughts on all this? Chris,
I still want to know who's going to be there. I don't have a list of who's attending yet. I'm curious who's going to.
I don't think he's decided yet. He's put out some names, but he hasn't actually reached out to those people as far as I know yet.
And it kind of makes sense that it is in San Francisco, since the charity is supposed to help homeless people in San Francisco. So it seems a perfectly appropriate location for it. I have my own thoughts about Silicon Valley after living there for quite a while, but more or less that so many people there are the opposite of what crypto is really about. But that's my own viewpoint about San Francisco Bay Area speaking there. I think there are
Hey,
plenty.
this is where I am now. I'm
I know
crypto.
there are
I'll
plenty of very fine people in the area, I'm
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. Just they're not very good at riding electronic scooters, I'll tell you that much. Um, Kieran, anything to add on this before we move on?
Well, I mean, as much as we do like to rip into Sun for some of the stuff that he does, he's he's good at getting attention, and I think in this
Oh,
case,
isn't he just? Wow.
prob it's probably a good thing in this case.
But I mean, I brought up this point before. Actually, I didn't. I cut it out. I made a video about this, but I actually cut out this point. So I'll say it now for you guys. Well, freebie. I think that Warren Buffett and Justin Sun are both marketing geniuses. And I actually think I mentioned this briefly on a previous weekly recap, and Chris kind of shut me down. But like, Warren Buffett lives in this very unassuming house. He makes a point of like, I'm from Omaha. I'm just a regular guy. And he is just like, he's been a great marketer at marketing himself. There are a lot of people out there in the Wall Street space who get a lot of attention for being a shark, and Warren Buffett sort of doesn't get a lot of that attention on him, but he is the ultimate shark. He is just, he's this ruthless man who everyone talks about as the Oracle of Omaha, this folksy kind of guy. Like, he's a marketing genius too. So Justin Sun and him probably have a lot more in common than they realize. And we're going to the next topic.
No comment there.
Yeah. So another couple of things, just as we wrap up here. What are the things I really want to talk? So, Pan-African insurer, Old Mutual, they say that they will not insure mining rigs. I just wanted to bring this up. Like, it's not a huge news thing, but I wanted to bring it up because you've got an insurance agency that refuses to insure mining rigs, talking about how they don't quite understand the tech. And I just look at an industry such as like the blockchain industry and how many different other industries they're disrupting. It's not just in finance. It's not just in money. They're really it's such a disruptive force, because you're going into places like the insurance industry where they have to learn about this stuff too, and they don't quite get it. Like, they eventually will. You're going to have so many insurance agencies that you'll probably have like niche insurance agencies that just do mining rigs in the future. But there's just like, it leaves the market like wide open for disruption, because you've got people being denied service. There's a clear market need for something, and you're going to have new people entering the industry and figuring this stuff up. Like, I just find that so supremely exciting, that everything is kind of getting disrupted. And I know it's such a buzzword, I don't like to use it, but it's a fitting word. Like, everything is getting shaken up, and I find that really, really exciting. And you're kind of seeing the old guard in a lot of ways, the people who aren't keeping up with this tech, the people who aren't looking into this. And they said that it's quite tricky to conduct a proper risk analysis of an unregulated fledgling industry. So it's all too difficult for them, so they're just not doing it. So the people who have that mindset are just going to get left behind, and you're going to get new people coming in who do have the capacity to look into this and to understand it and to learn about it, just taking over the market. Is very interesting. Anyone got any thoughts on this before I move on? I just wanted to bring it up briefly because I thought it was just an interesting case. Nope.
Nothing clever.
Nothing clever. Everything must have a wit standard, and this doesn't meet it, so we will move on. A couple of Coinbase things here. So first of all, I don't know if you've used Coinbase's Earn program. It's actually kind of an interesting program. If anyone's used it, let me know. I would love to get your feedback. But basically, they have a program where if you learn about new cryptocurrencies and things, you can actually earn tokens, coins in that currency. So they've just added the DAI, and this is the first stable coin in their program, which is interesting that they chose the DAI, because this is a MakerDAO project. It's entirely autonomous. And you have so many stable coins out there that they could have been teaching people about that are like, the Gemini, we're the regulated exchange. They didn't choose the Gemini coin. They didn't choose Tether. They didn't choose any of the big stable coins out there. They went to the DAI. And I find that very interesting. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean,
I
guess
the most complicated one.
It's absolutely the most complicated one. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they probably wouldn't want to go with Gemini or Tether because I guess at least indirectly they are kind of competitors to Coinbase in a way. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess the DAI is the most complicated one and probably the most interesting to learn about, at least for me. So
I did an episode on stablecoins with CoinDesk, but it hasn't been released. I'm not sure it ever will. So maybe I'll do another one on stablecoins because it's actually really interesting. Just learning about the different types, how they're different from each other, learning about DAI. Maybe I'll do a standalone episode just on MakerDAO and the DAI because it's super fascinating stuff there. And I think that a lot of people, they consider all stablecoins to be the same thing. It's like, oh, it's a stablecoin. No, they're so different. There are all kinds of different things going on with stablecoins, and they all is very nuanced. And I think it's helpful for people to understand those differences. So I'll get on that. Chris, you got anything to add about this?
It'll be very interesting to see where the stablecoin environment goes. I do think you had somebody on a few weeks ago to talk about the vote in DAO to raise the rates and everything. So he might be good to talk and explain how it works a bit better with DAI and MakerDAO. But as for the stable coins in general, I agree that the USDC is somewhat competitor to Coinbase, the Gemini one. So it's not surprising they don't want to give those away. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I was still to this point, I'm surprised that Coinbase hasn't come out with their own stable coin, but I guess they like leaning on some of the reputation of others rather than putting their own neck on the line for them. And the Learn program that Coinbase has, I need to go through more of them to see if I can actually recommend it to people or not. And I guess get some free crypto, because why not? They had one for XLM a while ago. Glad to see one with DAI. They have had a couple others in there that's be interesting to go through and just see what they actually want to teach newbies about crypto.
Indeed. So if there's nothing else to add there, I want to close up now because we have run out of time. It's been another delightfully enjoyable crypto news segment. So this is just something that I wanted to cap out the episode with. Cap is a funny pun. $6 million in stolen Binance Bitcoin is on the move again. The reason I bring this up, so Binance hack, a lot of money gets stolen, but you get these articles all the time. These things that are like watching for the accounts with stolen things and like letting everyone know about them and following the progress and tracking it. It happens with every hack. You have a lot of people out there watching the space and keeping an eye on this. And I actually kind of enjoy that. On the one hand, it kind of brings into question the fungibility of Bitcoin. It's really not fungible at all if you're able to, look at certain coins and distinguish them from other ones. But at the same time, like when you have governments saying like, well, we're going to blacklist this address and this is going to be like this overarching thing that we've decided to do, and then you have the community just voluntarily doing something. They don't need to have a government to say like you have to avoid this address. It's just an ethos where people are like, no, this isn't legit. This is stolen. We're going to watch this. We're going to track this. It's kind of, I don't know, it's this interesting cultural phenomenon in crypto that I quite enjoy, that people want to do the right thing. They're keeping an eye on these things. They're letting people know information about this. I just wanted to bring that up. Anyone have any closing thoughts on that sort of cultural phenomenon? Chris?
It is interesting that we can watch the funds move. I like that we can do that. I was thinking that it shows how relatively ineffective the current mixers are, that they haven't been trying to move these coins through any mixers now to use them. So we know that they aren't quite as effective as they would otherwise be. So maybe it's a good thing that Bitcoin isn't private, so we can watch all this stuff go by. But at the same time, yeah, we'll just have to see where this all ends up. Because I mean, at this point, everybody's watching us so closely. It's not like they can effectively sell the coins anywhere for anywhere near market price, because who would want to buy them and risk never being able to sell them themselves?
Yeah.
So the lack of fungibility in Bitcoin is shown here, which is it's bad for these thieves, but it's also bad for anybody who has the ability to quote unquote blacklist coins too. So it's you have the loss and the gain there, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the long run.
Kieran, anything more to add about that?
I don't actually think there is a mixer out there that can eat that much. Yeah. I know that's 1,060 Bitcoins. Like that is not going through a mixer unnoticed. You can't, you cannot delink that. I guess again that does kind of prove Chris's point. That they haven't actually gone through a mixer yet. So yeah, I'm kind of mixed feelings about this, because on one hand,
feelings about it. Sorry.
I don't want people doing this to my personal Bitcoin address, right? But then I don't want. It's also kind of cool that we can watch, the community can kind of track the coin. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really just draws attention when you have lots of articles coming out about this has moved from here to here. And then you, on the other side of things, have the government saying, well, this is terrible. This money funds terrorists. It's all opaque. No one knows what's going on. It's such an easy tool for criminals. I mean, it's clearly not. You just have article after article after article reiterating how easy it is to follow these things, and sort of bringing home the point about why we do need more privacy in the space, because everyday people's transactions, it's all trackable as well. There's no financial privacy at the moment if you have ever linked your identity to this, and it's very hard to not link your identity to accounts. So it's like this interesting balance that we're having to find in crypto, and I'm quite enjoying watching that play out.
I agree. It's a very game theory, to call back an earlier article. It's very interesting to see how people react to this, and in the long run, it is entirely free market that people would come together and say, "Hey, we don't want to touch that guy's money." It's something very possible and reasonable to do. So why not? But it is, it's right. Nobody would want it done to themselves.
Indeed. So just as we wrap out, I want to say a huge thank you to JR, who sent me Litecoin and Bitbacker. Thank you so much, JR. I really appreciate that. And he said that there will be new powers that be with crypto coming in, whether the old powers like it or not. The new powers hopefully won't be the obvious that are making noise right now. Definitely there's a disruptive shift going on, changing the balance of power. And, as decentralized tech in general gets more visibility and more use, I mean that's a huge power shift as well. So I've talked about this a lot before, about how decentralization is just such an interesting phenomenon that no one is talking about. The media are just not even going near it. We're still talking about whether or not the government's going to give us permission to do X, Y, Z, and really the tables have turned, and they can't actually stop people from doing certain things, with 3D printing and peer-to-peer sharing and peer-to-peer money, and all of these things just really is disrupting the power balance in society. So it's very interesting to see how that will play out. But huge thank you, JR. I really appreciate your support on Bitbacker. Huge thank you to Archer's Bullseye. Really appreciate your support as well. Huge thank you to the Power Chat fight that happened between Boston and Chicago. That was very enjoyable. So Boston himself and Uvers, thank you very much for your support there, and thank you to everyone for being here in the chat. I love hanging out with you guys every Friday. We're here 3 p.m. Eastern time for the crypto weekly recap show with our tea. So I hope that everyone got a nice tea to drink during this segment, so you can just wind down, learn about what happened in crypto news over the week, and chat with some fun people in the chat here. So huge appreciation to all of you for being here. And Chris, thank you for being here as always. Kieran, thank you like staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning to come on the show. You're so awesome. It's wonderful having both of you here, and yeah, delighted to have you as part of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Always happy to be here. Always a good way to end my week.
Always a wonderful way to end my week too. Everyone go and have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend. Go do fun things. Let me know all the things that you are doing. I want to hear about it all. And if you want to hang out some more, head over to the Hijinks and High Tea room where we chat about crypto stuff still. And it's kind of fun there and people are fun. Bye. Have a wonderful time.
Sayonara.